Your sacred space is like, in world religions, we maybe refer to it as nirvana or bliss or heaven, paradise. In all the great philosophies, maybe nirvana, something like that. Think of it as a small circle right in the space of your physical heart. Just a circle that is pure, pure like light, pure and theoretically untouchable. Like if you think about heaven as being unattainable as long as we are alive here on earth. Think of the sacred space as something that no one and no thing really has a right to be in. It's yours. It is your all and it is your nothing. It's like the sound of Om. It's eternity. It's the before and the after. It is the all and the nothing. It's the beginning and the end. It's everything. And that is your sacred space. And the sacred space is right here in the center of your heart knowing. And then just beyond that and beyond that and beyond that and beyond that, moving outward and outward and outward is all the things in your life. And some things are too close and some things are too far. A lot of times we think that our life circumstances or the situation that we're in today happened with nothing to do with us. Like we did not create that or we aren't responsible for that. Yet we really are, even in terms of this sacred space. One analogy to use is like the personal space, right? The personal space has to do with your physical body and your awareness of how close someone can be. You ever had one of those situations where someone is just too close and you keep stepping back and they keep coming closer and you keep stepping back and you just have this feeling like, man, that dude is just too close, man, it's just too close. But for that person, they're within their sense of sacred space, or they're within their sense of personal space. I also have people in my life who have a much bigger sense of personal space than I do. And there's one friend in particular that I'm always leaning in like, what? What'd you say? What? And he is the one who's always walking back. And it's fun and it's funny to watch that and see how people respond to this awareness of their personal space, because they're not, most times, not really conscious of it. It's just the way we respond to people's presence in our life. And in terms of the sacred space of the heart, that's even less obvious, because the body is what we see, we touch, we feel, and we experience our world through the body. But the sacred space of the heart has to do with things like your values and your attitudes and what's most important to you. And sometimes, many times actually, someone or something can come into the space without us intentionally inviting it. So I like to practice this thing that I refer to as the boundary shield. And so I like to practice a tool called the boundary shield, which is being aware of the sacred space and that really no one and no thing has a right to be there. And so I like to practice this thing called the boundary shield. And it's really being intentionally aware of the things that are occupying my mind, occupying my time and my mental energy. You know, when you get some idea or some thought or some opinion in your head and you just repeat it over and over and over. Let's say there's a conflict with somebody, and if only I'd said this, and if only I said that, and what do you suppose this person meant? Well, I'm sure they meant this or that. That is an example of something being too close, because it's absorbing your energy and it's taking up all of this space, the most central piece of you. And it doesn't always have to be something negative. It can be like when you first start to fall in love and the only thing in your mind is this new person, and you're thinking about this new person all the time, and you're just longing for the next moment. Even when you're with them, you're fantasizing more with them. And that is an example of being really in close. And I'm not saying it's not okay to be like excited and in love and consumed by this new person. I'm saying that it's important to be aware of how close all of that is to this most central, most sacred space of your existence. The idea then, this boundary shield tool, the idea then is that you can choose to set something just a little bit out. You can set it out on ring 1 or ring 2 or ring 10. You can just set it away. And that is almost like physically stepping back from something so that you can more powerfully choose and stay with the choice to not overthink it, to not let it change the trajectory of your life. And in the same way, you can pull something in closer that's too far away when you start becoming more aware. When I was writing regularly, I often had conversations with people that went something like this. They would say, oh, one of these days, I'm going to be a writer too. I've got a book in mind and I'm going to write this book after I retire, after my children grow up or something, right? Okay. I never really had a response to that. I do now though. And the question is, really? Like, do you like the idea of being able to say, hey, I'm a writer, like it means something and I'm cool with that? Or is writing the thing that you have to do? Like it's in your veins, in your blood, in your every cell of your body, every sense of your being that you know that's your calling. If that answer is yes, and you're waiting for other things to get out of the way, then I'm going to say, let's readjust your boundary shield. Perhaps it's bringing that idea that I am a writer closer to your sacred space, because that's in alignment with what you know you are designed to do. And if it's closer, I'm not saying right away you pick up a pen and you go out and buy the best journal and you just start writing all the time. I'm saying that if it's closer, if you physically, like physically and symbolically draw it closer, you'll have to write. You'll just have to write. A writer writes. And in that practice then, you become the writer. And all those things that you're waiting for are really irrelevant. Even if it's something so important like raising your children, you know you were also designed to raise these children. So I'm not saying move them away and pay less attention to them. I'm saying simply open this space of the heart so that the children, or whatever the things are that are keeping you from this idea you think is the great idea of what you'll do someday, so that all those things are in the way, simply step back a bit. So like if I step back a bit, I'm not out of the picture. I've just allowed a little more space for breath, a little more space for being. And then these things that are really meant to be, you can intentionally bring them in closer by simply letting yourself think about them, letting yourself feel them, letting those ideas take up more space in the heart. So my question for you is, what's on your boundary shield? How close is it to your heart, your sacred space? Are the things that are at ring 1 or 2 or 10 the things that you really care about, that you really want to be there? The things that are farther away, do they belong there? Sometimes people find when they're doing this that there's something on like what you would maybe refer to as ring 7. And you say, oh, hell no, that thing needs to be completely out. Throw it out and off the boundary shield. Once you realize that, it's so clear and you can do it. You can throw it away. Put it out of your head. And the reason I like this tool is because what I just said, put it out of your head. Just do it. It sounds so easy, and I know it's not. How do you just say, stop thinking about it, stop thinking about it, stop thinking about it? You're thinking about it more and more and more, right? When you take this action of, you can write it down farther away, or even this action with the hands and moving it farther away and see how far out it is. That action allows you to really clear the space in your heart. Maybe you want nothing in there. Maybe you want that true nirvana, that true Om. Go for it. That's part of your perhaps meditation practice. Or my mom used to refer to putsy time. Oh, you just need a little more putsy time, she'd say to me. And it never failed that putsy time was when I would be like cleaning up my room or organizing papers or, just brushing my hair in the mirror, thinking nothing. Or I've always been a lover of watching the clouds float over the sky, over me in the sky. Those kinds of things were putsy. Whatever it is that you need space for, you can create it. And so if it is true emptiness, just be there and feel the space begin to open. Like really, for the long list of things that you have to do, what happens if you don't get them all done today? I'm sure you've experienced that many, many, many days. And all it takes is sometimes a brief pause. That's why I like breathing for 3 full cycles of breath. 3 doesn't take very long at all. If you go really slowly, it could take about a minute. And in that time, things begin to move. Just shift around a little bit in the heart and in the mind. So what's consuming your time? What's consuming your energy? Is it the stuff that you want to be close to the sacred space? What is it that you tell yourself and tell people that you care about so much? Your values, the most important people, the big dreams. Where are those things and those people in relation to your sacred space? Perhaps it's time to pull one or some in a little closer. I'm not saying to add to your to-do list. Oh, I need to really call my daughter because it's so important to me. She's important to me and I haven't called her for 3 days. I'm not saying to add stress to your life by adding more things to do. This is all within you. Knowing what you're thinking or doing or how you're making the shift is not anything that anybody else has to know about, and certainly nothing that they would visibly see. It can be a really quick check-in. So for example, about the daughter. My daughter's really, really important to me. And I haven't talked to her for 3 days. I begin to draw her not into my sacred space, into closer. And then it's not a to-do thing. Perhaps she'll call me. Perhaps I will call her. So that's my question. What does it look like on your boundary shield? What's there? What needs to be there? Have a great day.